Well, I'm joined now by the Schools Minister, Nick Gibb. A very good morning to you. Thanks for
Morning.
coming in. So you've announced that a number of school buildings in England will have to close immediately over safety fears. Why has it taken until now when RAC, this type of concrete that's prone to collapse, has been known to be risky for many years? Why have you made the announcement now just days before the new school term is about to begin?
Well, we've been very proactive in dealing with RAC since 2018. We've issued a warning notice to schools then with the Local Government Association. We issued guidance in 2021 and 2022. And in 2022, we started a survey of all the schools in the school estate, 22,500 schools, asking whether they have RAC in the schools. Those surveys have been coming back, and the vast majority do not have RAC. And those that thought they had RAC, we sent in surveyors and to identify, to confirm whether they did. And again, the majority did not. And where we did identify it, we then took action if the RAC was critical. And that's been happening already in 2022, 2023. In 52 schools, we've already taken remedial action for those schools. What we discovered over the summer, as new evidence emerged, there was a number of cases where in schools, but also in non-schools, and indeed outside England, where RAC that we thought was safe, that was not critical in its condition, actually turned out to be unsafe. Because of that emerging evidence over the summer, we've changed our guidance to school to say that it's no longer just RAC that's in a critical condition where you have to take that building or room out of use. We now take the cautious approach that if the RAC, when you've identified RAC, regardless of its condition, you need to take that building or room out of use. And that is a cautious approach in terms of safety. And the reason why we can take this decision, because this government, unlike any other government in the world, has more evidence of where RAC lies and remains in our school because of the work we've been doing over the last few years.
You say it's recent new information, but there still will be a lot of people who are concerned about the timings. As you say, we've known about a collapse of a school was put down to RAC in 2018, 5 years ago. And then in June, the National Audit Office said that a school collapse in England that causes death or injury was very likely. Couldn't the summer months have been spent putting into action some of these relocations that's needed now? And Unison are saying that you've squandered valuable months. Are they right?
No, they're not right, because the policy up until yesterday was that where we identify RAC, and we've been assiduous in identifying RAC in the school estate, where that RAC was in a critical condition, then we do take that action. And those measures have been taken already in 52 schools, where we've taken part of that school out of action, or indeed in a few cases, the whole school has been taken out of action, and we have put in alternative accommodation for those schools. So that's already been happening in 52 schools. What we learned over the summer is that the policy that said that where the RAC is identified as low risk, you don't need to take remedial measures. What we've learned in the summer is that is no longer a safe attitude, and we are now taking the cautious approach that even where it's not critical, the condition of the RAC, we still want those buildings taken out of use.
How many schools will have to, sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
How many schools will have to close completely?
We don't know yet. We are talking to the schools. Caseworkers are attached to all those 156 schools to identify the extent to which RAC is in the schools. In most cases, it will be just a few buildings or a few rooms, or indeed just a cupboard. But in some cases, it will be the whole school. And in those circumstances, we will be finding alternative accommodation for the pupils, and they'll be out of face-to-face education for a very short period while that alternative accommodation
How
is
short a period?
Well, on average, in those 52 schools I was telling you about, we found that on average it was about 6 days, but we want it to be even less than that because we are working with caseworkers, with all the support of the department, property experts, propping experts. We may well be able to prop up some of these areas because it's not in a really bad condition, but we're just being very cautious. It may be possible to prop up the RAC so that the building can still be used.
How many more schools could be affected? You have been carrying out surveys. Have those inspections been done? Have you got those surveys back? How great is the scale of this issue?
Well, the vast majority of the surveys have been returned, and we have been following up with surveys. There are more to come in, so there will be some more. But what we do know from those questionnaires is the vast majority confirm there's no RAC. And even when they suspect RAC, the majority actually do not have RAC. And schools have had guidance in 2018, 21, 2022 showing that they do need to have contingency plans and explaining how to identify RAC in those schools. So they are aware of this issue already in our schools.
But if you haven't had all those surveys back, is it possible there'll be some children going back to schools next week that are not safe?
No, they can be safe. Look, we are in this country have taken a more proactive approach.
But if you haven't got all the information on all the schools yet...
But we have more information than any country in the world about the school estate that uses RAC. We have more information than, for example, the Labour-run Welsh government, who are starting their surveys today. So they can be assured that the schools are safe. The schools already know about the dangers of RAC. They are identifying it. They're aware of it. We are just being extra cautious and saying that where you identify RAC through the surveys, through our questionnaires, that we want you now to take those buildings out of use for precautionary reasons.
And who's going to pay for that relocation? Is the money coming directly from the Department for Education, or will schools have to dig into their own budgets?
No, we will pay for that. We've made it very clear we will cover all capital costs. So if, in the worst-case scenario, we need porta cabins in the school estate for an alternative accommodation, we will cover all those costs. So there's been some speculation that we won't cover those costs. We absolutely will.
OK, and what about other educational settings like universities and nurseries? Is there a risk there?
Well, we are responsible for state-run nurseries and also for colleges, and we are doing the same approach to those as well as to schools. Universities are independent and they are aware of the technical issues of RAC, and they will be taking their own advice. Right across Whitehall, we are assiduously surveying hospitals, courts, public buildings, so we know where RAC is, and action is being taken right across the public sector.
Well, yes, give me an update on hospitals, because as I understand it, the Cabinet Office has talked about 34 other public buildings have been found to have RAC, and they include 24 hospital sites. So are hospitals safe?
Yes, they are. Hospitals are very large buildings. They have very big and expert maintenance teams in those hospitals. They can use propping, and they are using propping in certain they can move patients from one ward to another. It's a very different estate from the school estate. And there are 7 hospitals that we've already committed to rebuilding that we know have RAC, and those hospitals will be rebuilt under the new hospital programme.
And as far as schools are concerned, why have you not released a list of the schools affected?
We will do. But what we want to happen is we are talking to the schools, and the schools are talking to the parents. We want the school to be able to talk to the parents first before parents read about these issues in the media. We want the schools to concentrate on the mitigations and sorting out what they're going to do, working with the department, with all the support that we're giving them with a caseworker. We want the schools to concentrate on that, but we will release the list in due course.
So have all the schools that are affected been informed now?
The vast majority have. We've been calling them yesterday, but there are a few more that we're calling today. And those schools are now talking to parents about what's going to happen in their schools. In the vast majority of cases, RAC will be in only a few buildings or a few rooms in the school. But in some cases, it will be more extensive. And
I have to let you go, but quickly, a message to pupils and parents who are finding out, possibly as late as today, about a term starting on Monday, that their child may not be able to attend school on Monday.
I absolutely understand their frustrations, but our priority has to be safety. This evidence could have emerged in, say, November coming up, in term time, and you just have to take the decision as quickly as you can, and then, of course, it's going to be short notice for the school because we inform them as soon as we're able to do that. We've been looking at the evidence, we have been questioning experts, we've been preparing for the consequences of that decision so that schools will have the support to put in remedial action. But as soon as that decision is taken, and indeed there were schools, that evidence had emerged over the summer. One of the buildings, we discovered as late as last week. So as soon as we are able to take a decision, we tell schools. And I do understand the frustration of parents, but safety has to be our prime concern.
OK, well, Nick Gibb, Schools Minister, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.